Hello and welcome to the Living in Salida podcast, a podcast that offers insights into the charm and reality of living, working, and playing in the small mountain town of Salida, Colorado. I'm your host, Monica McCarthy, a realtor that specializes in buying and selling in the Salida, Colorado area. In addition to helping people buy and sell property here, I love connecting with the wonderful people in our community, learning about their experiences in our town, and sharing these little slices of life in Salida with you. Today we're going to be talking about one of the aspects of this area that make living here so special, the trails. The abundant outdoor activities is a huge draw for people to visit and move here. And one of those outdoor options is our proximity to the Colorado Trail. Today we're going to be talking with one of the people that helps maintain this gorgeous and important trail system, Paul Talley, the executive director of the Colorado Trail Foundation, which is an organization that in collaboration with the U.S. Forest Service is responsible for the maintenance and administration of the Colorado Trail. And for those of you not familiar, the Colorado Trail is a recreational 567-mile trail that runs from Denver to Durango, and it passes through several national forests, wilderness areas, and mountain ranges, including those near Salida. So we are pretty close to a few sections of that beautiful trail. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. Yeah, so what I wanted to talk to you a little about first is just, your experience coming to Salida, and then we can kind of dive into a little bit more about your work here. So how did you get to the wonderful town of Salida?
Like a lot of people in Salida, I started out as a summer guide here in
did
the
you?
90s. I did, yeah. So
that's so funny.
Summers of 95 and 96.
Okay.
When I was in college, I was a wilderness guide here.
Okay.
And led backpacking trips and climbed 14ers, and that was my first introduction to Salida.
Okay.
Like a lot of people, was through several of the local outfitters.
Okay, so did you live in Colorado then and just visit here? Or were you further away?
I was going to college in Texas and then spending my summers here as a guide. And then as soon as we graduated, I moved to Colorado Springs and lived there for several years.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Nice. Then how did you learn about this area? I'm actually from Texas. I didn't know what Salida was when I was living in Texas.
When I was a kid in the 80s, we would drive through every summer and go over Monarch Pass on our way to the kind of western slope, kind of Gunnison area.
Okay.
And so I remember, the Monarch butterflies they used to sell at the store, the big wooden ones. Maybe some of the local Salida people remember this in the 80s. They would sell these huge wooden Monarch butterflies at the Crest store.
Okay.
And so that always stuck out in my mind as a little kid.
Yeah, that's a cool spot too, just the top of a mountain.
Yeah, top of a mountain.
Which is hard to think of when you're a Texas kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I can totally relate to that. Well, okay, so you came here a lot in the 90s, and then, but when did you
lived here in the summer of 95 and 96 for 3 or 4 months during the season. And then when I graduated from college, went to Colorado Springs and lived there, would just come out here and ski at Monarch and play, felt a real kinship to the valley, having worked here for 2 seasons. And then went about my life for 20 years running nonprofits. And then a year ago, moved back to the valley to work with the Colorado Trail Foundation.
Oh, okay. So that was
just a year ago this June.
Okay, so you're fairly new here.
Fairly new, yeah. And it's a lot different than it was in 95 and 96.
Yeah, how so? What are so? I can make some guesses, but give me some
downtown
overview.
Only had a few things going on in 95 and 96. It was more of a ranching town at the time.
Yeah.
The whitewater companies had a big presence here in the valley, but for the most part, it was just along the river corridor.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a ton of tourism. So coming back and having all the restaurants and the downtown and the Riverside Park and all the great things that have happened since the 90s, it's a different place.
It totally is.
We've enjoyed it a lot.
I bet. Yeah, I know. I've talked to some people who are natives, or they've lived here for a really long time, and kind of sharing those, and how the river was not well maintained, and it was kind of grungy downtown, and a lot of
it was like the closer you got to the river, the farther away you were from 50. So it was more boarded up the closer you got to the river.
Yeah, which now it's like this hidden little spot away from 50. Yeah. So, well, you're here at a really good time. It's a thriving place now.
It's
so,
been great.
Well, what drew you to the Colorado Trail Foundation? And
so I had been running nonprofits for most of my career. I've been working with nonprofits of different type, and particularly volunteer nonprofits.
Okay.
In 2018, I actually did the Colorado Trail. I mountain biked it.
Oh, wow.
And got on their correspondence list through that process, and was running a nonprofit outfitter down in the Santa Fe area. And when the job came open, we were kind of looking to move. We were about to be empty nesters, and
Oh, wow.
we were thinking about where's a great place to live as an empty nester. And the job was very appealing to us because of it combined what I was doing, nonprofit work and conservation work, and then just outdoors, being able to be outdoors and mountain bike and hike and invest back into that community. So it was just a great fit for us. We were really excited.
It sounds like it. Yeah. So you said, and then I know you're, you've been here for about a year, and then the location of the
about this a little bit before I came on the Colorado Trail Foundation. So we've had a field office here since we bought land in 2015.
Okay.
And then built the field office in 2018. So Salida is almost the exact middle point of the trail.
Okay.
So somewhere between Chavano Campground and Tabawash Creek, there is the exact middle point of the trail. So Salida is the almost middle point. And we had put a field operations center here in 2018 that housed all of our tools and all of our equipment, and where we could go to either end of the trail a little more easily.
Yeah.
And then right before I came on, we moved our long-term headquarters from Golden into that field office, and then spent about a year remodeling it, and now it's our headquarters. So all of the staff now is here. Everybody's here. We do our volunteer trainings here, our board meetings here, and we've really invested in Salida as a community, because not only is it the midpoint of the trail, it is what all of us want to be engaged in when we work for the Colorado Trail, is being a town like Salida. So it works out really well.
It sounds like it. Yeah. And so I know your organization has, 4 full-time employees?
We have 4 full-time employees, and then about a dozen seasonal employees.
Okay.
1 or 2 that work on the operation side, and then we have some trekking programs where people can trek the Colorado Trail with us as well. So we have summer seasonal guides.
Gotcha.
But the full-time employees, there's 4 of us here year-round, and then we do all the volunteer coordination. So last year we had about 500 volunteers do right around 16,000 hours of trail maintenance.
Wow.
It ends up being about 29 hours of work per mile of trail that we did last year.
Wow. So is that something, I mean, just to give people context, this is this trail was created, I believe, in the 70s, and it's just fully volunteer.
Quick history.
I guess a little history and why it's maintained by volunteers.
There were some people sitting around when the 100-year anniversary of the state of Colorado was about to come about. So mid-70s.
Okay.
And they were part of the Colorado Mountain Club. Mm-hmm. And somebody kind of said, we should do something. We should do something big for the 100-year anniversary of Colorado.
Yeah.
And a couple of people got together and said, what would be neat is if we made a trail all the way across the state. And they kind of falsely thought, it'll be easy. We'll just link up a bunch of existing trails, and that was the birth of the Colorado Trail. And it actually took us about a decade past that. But in 1987, we officially finished the trail from Denver to Durango, as it is currently known. And it's gone through several iterations, but it really was just a group of people who said, our state needs its own trail that highlights who we are and all the great things. And so you start in Denver, you go all the way to Durango, and you go through about 15 different cities and some of the best parts of Colorado. So it really is a trail for the state of Colorado.
It's and you get, just the views. I haven't hiked the whole thing, but I've done sections. Yeah. It's got to be absolutely amazing.
Incredible. And people actually come from all over the world. We get we send out completer certificates, people who complete.
Oh, okay.
And we send them all over the world because people fly in every year and spend the summer doing the Colorado Trail. And it's become one of the main through hiking trails. There's about 4 or 5 in America, and it's become one of the ones that people really enjoy. And we think it's the most beautiful, and we love the fact that it was built almost entirely by volunteers.
Yeah, that does make it more special. Yeah. And then it's maintained that way. So kind of back to what you're saying.
Maintained that way as well, yeah.
So kind of give people an insight into what it takes to maintain such an important trail in our state?
So it takes a lot of time. Most people, when they go hike on a trail, you just take for granted that it's here. And maybe you see a footbridge every once in a while or a sign that reminds you that people worked on it. But the reality is we live in a harsh environment where there's always erosion, there's always water damage. And so we have 2 ways we maintain it. We actually have about 116 adopters that routinely go on the trail and do what we call adopter work. And that's just the regular maintenance of making sure that the trees are cleared off the trail, that the trail's walkable, that it's well signed, that bridges are working, that river crossings are safe. And then when we have larger projects where we have to either repair a section of trail or sometimes even just move it because erosion has gotten too bad or there's been an avalanche, we'll do week-long crews. So this year we'll have 11 week-long crews along the trail, accompanying about 300 people that will come together and just volunteer their time to do the work. And we've got warehouses full of tools and experts that work with them and people who lead those, and our staff just coordinates all of the effort that goes into that. So those are the two main ways, either through our Adopt a Trail program, which is just regular people all across the state who just give up their free time on the weekends to come fix trail, or our week-long programs where people sign up and say, I want to go with you. And then the week-long programs, sometimes they backpack in and sometimes we can drive to the location.
Well, then I know I was watching one of the videos you had online. It sounds like some people chose that as like a family trip to do the week-long thing. And
we also have several generations. It's really interesting. We had a gentleman on a crew a couple years ago. It was the grandfather, the son, and the grandson all working. And the grandfather had been volunteering with us since the mid-'80s.
Wow. So, what an amazing thing to pass on.
It's an amazing legacy. The legacy of the people who've been engaged with this, and particularly our founder of the foundation, her name was Goody Gaskell, is just really amazing. And the people that kind of envisioned this and then went out and did it. And this was before GPS. This was before social media. This was just people grabbing friends saying, we're going to build this trail and we're going to make it happen. And after over a decade, they did. Surprisingly enough.
That is, it's incredible. And I know, kind of to your point of, people can take it for granted. There's so many trails around the Salida area, and there are sections of the Colorado Trail that are just a short drive up the road. And we get a lot of through hikers that come here in the summer. And so I just think it's important to recognize that, to not take that for granted.
Well, and what's interesting is most of the large communities that the trail goes through, and it goes through 6 or 8 larger communities like Salida, Buena Vista, Leadville, Copper Mountain, Breckenridge, Durango, Silverton. You just go through these. Most of the large communities, the most highly trafficked trail in their area is the Colorado Trail. So to put that in perspective, I think there was about 33,000 people use the crest this year alone.
Wow.
Either mountain biking, hiking, horseback riding, motorcycling. And then if you look at places like Kenosha Pass, where we know that there's well over 30,000 people, especially during the fall, that go in that section.
Yeah, it's a big.
So what's interesting is most communities, the Colorado Trail, while they're all surrounded by great trails, the Colorado Trail typically is one of the most trafficked because it's well maintained and well marked, and then the history of it.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of grasp onto and realize, oh, that's something I've heard of that before.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's incredible. So tell me a little bit more. You mentioned that you biked it. I want to know a little bit more about your experience with the Colorado Trail.
Yeah, so it is open to hikers, bikers, and horseback.
Okay.
There is about 90 miles of it open to motorcycles, mostly around here.
Oh, okay.
But so most people either hike it or mountain bike it.
Okay.
And I mountain biked it, which is a little challenging because, as you can imagine, altitude riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
You also have to go around wilderness areas. So, bicycles are not allowed in the wilderness. The trail does go through several wilderness areas. So we have a detour to bike around them. So you end up actually riding about 120 miles more on the bicycle route because you have to go around some wilderness areas. And one example is there's an area called the Lost Creek Wilderness up by Bailey, where you have to ride 90 miles around a 25-mile section of wilderness. So you do almost 3 times as much.
Yeah, that's probably hard
for the bike. So
mentally
it was a wonderful way to do it. I loved a mountain bike.
Yeah.
And it was a great way to do it, but it was definitely challenging at times.
I bet.
And so, yeah, most people hike it that we get completer certificates for, but we have about a third of them that will send in certificates for biking it.
And how long does it normally take somebody?
It really depends on it depends on how their pace.
Sure.
If you were to say I can do 20 miles a day, which is pretty stout, you can do it about 5 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
So most people will spend a good portion of the summer doing it. We have a lot of people that will just say, hey, I'm going to do a week every summer until I finish it. So there's a lot of people that we call those section hikers. And we have people from not only all over the country, we have people from all ages. We've gotten completer certificates from 12-year-olds, and I've gotten them from 79-year-olds. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, there is people that from all over and all walks of life that do it. Some people love to do it with friends, a little bit at a time. Some people love to set off.
Yeah.
We have a lot of college students that'll take the summer to do it. There's a lot of, again, people from overseas that'll come do it. It really is a smorgasbord of people, and you can't really put your thumb on who's the single most user group. It's a lot of, you'll see it all. You'll see retired people, you'll see young families going out for the day, you'll see people doing all kinds. So most people bike it in 2 to 3 weeks, and then hike it 6 to 8. That's
how long
pretty
did it take you?
I did it in right at 2 weeks.
Right at 2 weeks? Okay.
2 weeks. Yeah, it was a learning experience.
I bet.
And most people do it self-supported. So you have to stop in towns like Salida and Buena Vista and Leadville to buy supplies. And so there's a large amount of, when we see people around town with the backpacks on, they're usually coming in to buy stuff. And so that's also an element that adds a little bit to it. You just can't take enough food to last 6 weeks with you. Of course
not, yeah.
So you're going to be coming in and resupplying and spending money in these towns along the way.
Yeah, so it's good for our local economy too.
It is, yeah. It's part of the recreation economy. And as you can imagine, a lot of times when people hit Salida, they want to stay for a couple of days in a hotel, and they want to go to the hot springs, and then they want to buy a bunch of food. And particularly the section, there's not a really good, reliable resupply between here and Lake City.
Oh.
So by the time people leave Salida that are through hiking, they're pretty stocked up, because you need between 5 to 10 days of food to get you to Lake City.
Wow.
Depending on how you're doing it.
Sure. Yeah. So we're an important stop.
We are Salida is a very important stop.
Yeah.
And not just on the CT, on the CDT as well, on the Continental Divide Trail, which shares. True. So 300 miles of the Colorado Trail is shared with the Continental Divide Trail.
Okay.
So people always coming through north or southbound, going from Mexico to Canada on the longer one, stop in Salida as a very important resupply as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know I talked to the owner of Oveja Negra, who does the biking pack. So I know she sees people from all of that, because they often need her gear to carry all their stuff.
Salida is such a great mesh point of a lot of these long distance trails. So there's also people who mountain bike the Continental Divide Trail, do what's called the Great Divide mountain bike route, and it actually goes in front of the station here.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
So when you see people on big bikes with gear hanging off, they're usually either doing the Colorado Trail or often the Great Divide mountain bike ride as well. And again, Salida is a very important resupply point.
Absolutely. Well, you were giving us some great insights into just, important parts of this community.
Yeah, important parts of the people that love to suffer. Yeah, I guess is what you'd say. People who love to do weird things with bicycles and hiking and all that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm more of a day hiker, but I love being able to just easily go out to these beautifully maintained, so thank you, trails. So if you're somebody who, appreciates the trails, maybe isn't able to volunteer, or I guess, what are ways that people can support your organization?
Absolutely.
If trails are dear to them.
Yeah, so if trails are dear to people, we're very uniquely positioned in the valley here. Mm-hmm. There are many trail organizations doing lots of great work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of crossover. A lot of times people who volunteer with us from Salida also volunteer with one of the others.
Okay.
So volunteering obviously is a way.
Sure.
Financially, one of the interesting things about the Colorado Trail Foundation is we are independent. We are a nonprofit that's not supported by the Forest Service or the federal government.
Oh, okay.
We draw very little from the Forest Service, which helps us right now in a time when those agencies are drawing back.
I was wondering how that was affecting you. Yeah.
We're very well positioned because traditionally we have been for Colorado by Coloradoans. And so typically we just have lots of little donors over the whole state who help us do our work. So volunteering, donating, those are really big things. And then also just awareness.
Yeah.
Living in a place like Salida, I feel like everyone needs to be aware of what it takes to conserve and maintain all these public lands.
Yeah.
And again, there's great organizations here in town that also do that, both on the river and in the forests.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get plugged in Salida.
It really is. Yeah. And it's great that there's so many people who care about continuing to make it nice.
Yes.
And and then pack it in, pack it out, right?
Yes, yeah. Take everything with you, get it out.
Don't trash out our trucks.
And and the other thing is too, we have a saying around our place: "Thou shalt not tag your photos."
Okay.
So for instance, one of the things that's happening right now in national lands is everybody's tagging their location in their photos. So somebody else wants to go there, and then it just gets loved to death. So
interesting.
So our new one, besides pack it in, pack it out, is we often say, "Thou shalt not tag photos."
Okay.
So don't put locations in photos. Let people discover these wild places on their own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
So and then to keep them nice so they're not overly
keep them nice, keep them, and also there's something great about finding a place your own and not just following somebody's tracks to it.
That's true.
There's something neat about finding a place and feeling like, hey, I have this to myself.
Yeah, and it's a vast wilderness.
It's a vast place, and there's lots of fun places to find.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for what you're doing and making our community wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
So much. Well, again, I'm Monica McCarthy, a realtor who specializes in Salida and surrounding areas. If you're interested in connecting with me, whether it's to help you buy or sell a home here or about being on the podcast, all of my contact information is in the show notes. And if you like this podcast and found the information in it useful to you, please share it with a friend who you think might be interested in the topic. You can learn more about Salida, Colorado and the real estate market here on my YouTube channel as well, also called Living in Salida, Colorado. Thanks for listening and take good care.